Finally did it. After 2 weeks, a little over 2 weeks, I finally removed my Ironman 70.3 Chattanooga bracelet, the coolest piece of jewelry you can wear. Always usually keep these on a couple weeks after my race, but hey, symbolically, now we take that race, put it in the rear view. Let's talk about what's coming next.
Welcome to the Ordinary Marathoner Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Ordinary Marathoner Podcast. My name is Coach Scott. I'll be your host today. I want to thank everyone for coming back last week, all the great feedback we had, the well wishes from our first podcast back after about 5 months of being away. It's nice to be back. It's nice to kind of, hey, this is 2 weeks in a row, so you can call it a streak. Call it what it is. We are now on a roll. We are on a streak. Listen, our goal, I think, going forward is going to be to try to get a weekly podcast out either Monday or Tuesday. Talk about some big picture stuff. And in the meantime, we may come out with some smaller things in between. We'll certainly be doing our live streams on the Ordinary Marathoner YouTube channel with our Zwift rides. I'm going to be continuing those. Wednesdays and Thursdays in particular, we're going to usually be on. Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time will be a club ride. So Zwift has added a new feature called the Club. If you're on Zwift and you want to join us, just go to the club section, look up Team Ordinary, and add yourself to it. I believe we're open and anyone can join. If you're having trouble, let me know. I'll be glad to send you an invitation if that's what's needed. But I think you can just join it. And then we're going to have club rides set up through the week. Normally, I think for now, right now, all we're looking at is Wednesday nights. Wednesdays at 8 o'clock. We're going to be doing some really challenging rides. We're going to be doing some races, some climbs, some workouts. I think last week we did a brick ride. We did a ride followed by a run. That worked out pretty well. And we'll see how things go from there. So Wednesday nights, we're going to be doing challenging rides. Thursday nights will be our trivia ride. We've been doing that one for like 2 years. I think we're on a good track now. We took about a month off there as well recently, but now we're back on track and we've done 2 weeks in a row and going to continue that as well. And if you don't know what that ride is, you can always check the old live streams, just the recorded ones on YouTube. Check it out, see what you think, and if you want to participate, even if you're not good at trivia, just come and join the ride. You can ride at your own pace. Everyone rides together. And if you're not good at trivia, I mean, look, Mike Romans does it, and I'm sorry, Mike. Mike actually gets a lot of questions right, so we'll give it to him. So we're going to be doing a lot of the live streams and a weekly podcast. That's kind of the goal. And again, try to keep it up with a broad topic. Now today is a bit of an announcement, I would say. You know, we just finished Ironman Chattanooga 70.3. And now you kind of turn your head and you focus on the next thing, right? What's the next thing? What's the next big thing? And, I think I have a really good setup for what I want to do. And what I mean by really good setup is I feel like I've set myself a short-term, a medium-term, and a long-term goal, all of them with sort of increasing difficulties, scaling up to something that I really, really want to accomplish, I really, really want to achieve. There's a lot of pieces to this, so let me try to work through this in an interesting way. Short term, Ironman Muscleman is about a month away. It's another 70.3, excuse me. It's another 70.3. I am falling in love with the 70.3 format. It's something that I really enjoy doing. I love going out there and competing and really being able to push myself at times. It's not a race that requires zero work for me. If I don't train for 6 months and then try to do a 70.3, that ain't going to happen. I will fail spectacularly. So it's something I need to maintain fitness. If not, continue to, and you can certainly push and try to get better and better and faster and faster. But it's also it's manageable. It's a manageable race. It's a fun race. You still get all the excitement, the pre-race excitement, going to that starting line, getting all the transition stuff ready. It's a vibe that you get that really, I don't know, it's addicting to a certain degree, and I enjoy it. The best part about the 70.3 is it's over midway through the day. You're not talking about midnight finishes here. You're talking about middle of the day finishes. You can kind of get back, you finish, you get your medal, you be happy, you eat some food, you go back to the hotel and shower, you get out and you meet the people that you just raced with, you swap stories, you talk about your triumphs, and it's really a great format for social environment. And athletic accomplishment. So it combines the two together, which I really, really enjoy. And I'm really, really falling in love with the 70.3 format. Looking forward to going to Muscle Man in just a couple, in a month. We'll be out there getting that done. Right now, as a medium-term goal, I am scoping out marathons in the fall. And one we have in mind in December. We're not going to announce it yet. I think we're going to be announcing that in a couple weeks. But we want to make sure that it's going to get done. And I want to make sure that I get my hotel rooms before all you guys. I'm kidding. Like, I'm going to bring a wave of people. But I got an idea what I want to do, and I'm looking forward to doing a marathon there. But the big announcement, and the announcement that I really wanted to put out there today is that I've made a decision. I've thought about this now thought about it for some time, but more seriously, I guess, over the last month or so. There's reasons for the decision. We'll get into some of those. But the decision is that in July of next year, 2023, I will be racing Ironman Lake Placid. And although I reserve the right to change my mind, I do believe that this will be my last full Ironman. Oh, so it's like, yay, and then, oh, yeah, it's bittersweet, but there's a number of reasons for this. So let's get into it. This is kind of the topic that I wanted to focus on today, is approaching this one big race and potentially have it be my last full Ironman. I'll give you a little background because I know, we're back after 5 months off here, and so some of you guys either might have forgotten or maybe you're brand new to the show. I did an Ironman at the age of 43 in 2017 in Lake Placid. It was my first ever triathlon. I was very green, didn't really know what I was doing, inexperienced. I trained hard. I did a lot of work, and it got me through the race. 15 hours and 50 minutes, I believe, was my final time. And hey, I felt accomplished with that. Didn't know if I'd ever do another one, but hey, it felt pretty good at the time. Right? Felt pretty good at the time. I went into that race weighing about 200 pounds, which I think if you follow the BMI, I'm 5'9". That's probably still obese technically. But you shouldn't follow the BMI. That's kind of been trashed over the years. Anyway, I went into that race about, I think, probably peak shape in my life. That was the best shape I've ever been in my life on that day. And, it kind of paid off, I think. Got me to the finish line of my first Ironman. 4 months later, went out to Ironman Maryland. This was kind of unplanned. It was sort of a wedding gift, I guess, for me. I had gotten married in between these races. And I really, honestly, I did some maintenance work in between, but didn't do any additional training, trying to get any faster whatsoever. Just showing up and trying to get things done. I went to that race. I mean, the courses are different, right? Lake Placid is very hilly. Maryland is very flat, very windy in Maryland. The swim, Lake Placid is a pristine swim. Maryland is choppy, jellyfish, salt water. Just kind of. I didn't really enjoy the water in Maryland as much as Lake Placid. But I think that the one thing I did have on my side after doing Ironman Lake Placid and then 3 months later going to Maryland was just the experience and knowing that, I was just feeling more comfortable racing that day. I felt more comfortable racing. I felt more comfortable pushing it at times. I didn't have that, hey, just finishing is good enough mindset. It was like, all right, let's try to do a little bit better. Let's push when we can. And I did beat my time by about 20 minutes there in Maryland. A year later, I went back to Ironman Lake Placid. I had fallen victim to the finish the race, and then they sent out an email saying, if you sign up in the next 7 days, you'll have first tier pricing and whatnot. And I went for it, figuring that this was going to be my new thing. I'm going to do Ironmans every year. forgetting how much actual work it takes to do that. Now, I did battle some injuries that year, and but just still some hiccups in training. I showed up unprepared, and I DNF'd. That was 2018. After the DNF, I sat there and watched the finish line with my daughter Sam, and she said to me, "Hey, I would love to see you actually finish one of these races." And so 2019, I registered and I worked hard, and I did. I finished Ironman Lake Placid in 2019. So that's my full Ironman history. I haven't done one since then. I mean, 2019, you'll remember, 2019 I finished, I was probably like the fifth or sixth last person to finish the finish line before they shut it down, right? They shut it down, they let the last swimmer in the water, and then they start a clock at 17 hours, and then when that clock runs out, then they close the finish line down, and that's it. So I had made it, and Mike Riley announced my name, called me an Ironman. They handed me a medal. I felt really good. I felt accomplished, and as anyone should. And I think we even had Mike Riley on the podcast that year, and he said, I asked him about this very specific thing, and he said, look, when you come through, we make adjustments for safety, but when you come through, I call you what I think that you are. And when you cross that finish line, so what? If you're a couple seconds more or you're a couple minutes more, so what? I call you what I think you are. And I do think that Mike Riley is probably the most qualified man to make that judgment out there. So I'm going to go with that. So if you're out there and you finished an Ironman in over 17 hours, consider yourself an Ironman. There's no problem with that. My finishing time was 17 hours, 0 minutes, 56 seconds. And yeah, those 50 seconds over time have gnawed at me and just kind of been like, you were a little over 17 hours, And on that day, I do remember that there really, I didn't feel like I had more than that to give. I felt like I left everything out there, every second that I had. But over time, this 56 seconds, they just kind of like hang over my head like, hey, do you remember that time you finished 56 seconds late? And it bothers me. And it shouldn't, but it does. And it's not the reason why I'm going through this. So we'll talk about that a little bit more in a second. But it's hard for me to believe as I'm sitting here right now that it's been 3 years since my last full Ironman. It feels like it wasn't that long ago. And in those years, I've really been kind of, like I said, I've been doing a lot of 70.3, not a lot, but 70.3s have been more of my wheelhouse. I've been enjoying them a lot more. I enjoy the training a lot more, the camaraderie with other people that are training for those distances. Meeting people up at the race in Chattanooga was amazing. I've finished Mont Tremblant, Muscleman, Chattanooga. I'm doing Muscleman again. So that's 4 70.3s I'll have done. And again, I really just enjoy them. And I could kind of see myself living in that zone. Training for 70.3s, going to 70.3s, being happy to participate, pushing it when I feel great, training hard when I want to, but just always trying to be, maintain and be physically fit, and then push it occasionally and try to be successful when I'm feeling it, And the problem is, I'm sitting here and I'm looking back and I'm 48 years old. And we're approaching 50 really quick. And then, it does that number is big and it weighs on me, right? As anyone as I approach, I think 50, it starts to be like, oh, wow, 50. Wow. And, I do feel some of the effects already. It's not, look, I feel young. I don't feel like I'm not being an age crybaby here or anything like that. But yeah, you can sense two things. Number one, if I take some time off, I feel like I lose drastically. I lose fitness quicker than I ever have before. And it gets worse and worse the older I get. And on the other side, when I do start training and I really get into it and I really push myself, it feels like it takes longer and longer, and I got to work harder and harder to make those gains back, to get back to the places that I was before. So it's just one of those factors that's something that's just it's not going to get better at this point, right? I'm on the other end of the bell curve. I am over the hill, right? That's the whole, yeah, you're over the hill. Look, it doesn't have to be a bad thing. I'm not saying it in a bad way. I'm just saying that there's a bell curve. That's why there's no 72-year-old quarterbacks in the NFL. I mean, maybe Tom Brady gets there eventually, but generally that career path, it heightens in right around 30 years old, give or take 5 or 10 years, and then you're deteriorating. It's just the way it goes, no matter how much water you drink. And, feeling that sort of stress, it's like, all right, you know what? I want to get this done. I want to get it done now. So yeah, between the 56 seconds and just, I tell you, the idea of doing a full again and just putting a cap on the full career, because I do think this will be my last one. I think I know what it takes, the effort it takes to put into it to get there, and to finish and to feel good about yourself. I'm going to get to that in 1 second, actually. But I know the effort it takes. I know the commitment, the level of commitment, and the time away from your family, the time away from my wife and kids. And I have their blessing to do this. Of course, I wouldn't do it otherwise. It's just, I feel like I want one more try. And I do reserve the right to change my mind in the future and do another. But right now, I'm feeling like I could do one more full and settle into a life of 70.3s and fun and enjoyment. But I want one more. I just want one more. I always think, I feel like when I lived in New York City, and I know I've told the story on the podcast before, but I used to, every November, I'd wake up one morning and I'd go out and I'd maybe try to get a bagel or go get some breakfast. And all of a sudden I'd go to cross the street and there was just fences up all over the place. And 55,000 people running down First Avenue, New York City Marathon Day. Something I didn't even know when it would be, or when it just would. I would wake up in the morning and it would be an interruption of my day. Invariably, I'd make it down to First Avenue and I'd lean against the railing or a row back because it's always so crowded. And I'd watch the runners go by and I just would be so enamored by their effort level and knowing the amount of work that it takes to be able to get out there and finish that kind of distance, on any given day, 26.2 miles through the streets of New York, how special that is. And I wouldn't run that race myself for another 15 years or so, 13 years, something like that. But invariably I'd sit there and I'd watch these runners go through and I'd say to myself, wouldn't it be so much better if I was on that side of the fence than on this side? And over the years, you kind of develop it. And I had my opportunities to do that. I've finished New York 3 or 4 times now. It was every single time I've done it, it's been a great experience. And I've done multiple Ironman races now. And every time I do that, it's a great experience. And I've kind of settled into a point now where I'm comfortable volunteering at Ironman Lake Placid. I did it last year. I'm going to be doing it this year. We're going to be doing it at the same aid station we did it last year. We had Rhiannon Berry on the podcast last year and talk about all the energy and amazing organizational skills it takes just to put an aid station together for Ironman Lake Placid. By the way, that aid station is going to be phenomenal this year, and I can't wait for you guys to come through. We're basically the last turnaround before they go back to town to the finish, about 6 or 7 miles away. They come through, they turn around, they come through again. And it's really like in the middle of the night, watching all these people sort of struggle and make their way through, just trying to reach that goal, that finish line that they've spent all day striving for. Is just an amazing experience, and I can kind of appreciate that a little bit better now, as opposed to that guy that was standing leaning against that fence just wishing I was on that other side. Now I don't necessarily wish that all the time, but I just kind of I enjoy watching people achieve these amazing, incredible things. And I think I just want to be on that other side for one of these big ones one more time. And really, when I think about things, right, I know, yes, I've done it before and it's been a couple years, and isn't it about time? And yeah, the 56 seconds, and yeah, I'm getting older and maybe I'm running out of opportunities here to do it again. But when I really, really think about it, when I really, really think about why I want to do this, it runs a lot deeper. I've approached Ironman starting lines 4 times. And the very first time I was in the best shape of my life. I've never, ever reached that level. And, I'm going to use weight as a marker, but it's not necessarily the characteristic that you can rely on every single time for your level of fitness. Here's what I mean by that. I ran New York City Marathon in 2014. I was 212 pounds. That is the lightest I've ever been to take the starting line for a marathon. I ran the Hartford Marathon in 2019 I weighed 232 pounds. I PR'd that race, and that was the fastest I had ever run a marathon. That was also the most I've ever weighed going into a full marathon, into a standalone marathon. I've actually weighed more going into an Ironman than that. But anyway, so my point is, weight is not a reliable marker for all things fitness, but it's a fairly good indicator on a general basis. So I approached 2017 Lake Placid. I weighed 200 pounds, and then I did Maryland at 213. Like I said, I gained some weight in between. I did Lake Placid the DNF year. I was probably close to 240 pounds. 2019, when I was with my daughter Sam, when I ran for my daughter Sam, I was in the low 220s, probably about 222. So still not my best shape. I wasn't in my best shape. And again, not the be-all end-all, but as a marker. I feel like if I want to really compete, I have to be south of, like, especially at a course like Lake Placid, I have to be closer to about 175 to 180 pounds at 5'9". All right. I cannot be BMI level obese, right? I mean, I don't know what the level of obesity is for a 5'9" guy when it comes to BMI, but it's probably under 200 pounds. So I'm probably still, even at my peak fitness, I'm probably still technically obese. How's that shaking for you? In other words, what I'm saying is, I don't know that I've ever approached a race in my optimal condition, my optimal fitness level. I was pretty close in 2017, maybe. But remember, I was green, and remember, I didn't train right. I kind of just trained watching YouTube videos and reading articles. I did everything on my own. No training partners, hardly anyone. I didn't ride with anyone on Zwift. I didn't go out and run with people. I didn't go out and swim with people. I did everything on my own. And I think it showed. And, that was well before I was ever a coach. And now I have all of this experience and all this knowledge to kind of draw on and try to kind of devise a plan for me to get to that starting line. Not even the finish line, guys. The finish line will take care of itself. That those hours in between will take care of themselves as long as you take care of the hours between now and the starting line. And those are the hours that I need to focus on. That's what I really want to do, and that's what I want to do right. And I really feel like now we've kind of developed this sort of community where there's just so much support. And I've developed this knowledge base where now that I'm a coach, it's like, yeah, I can come up with a plan that's going to maximize the efficiency of my time. That's really going to, and going to let me push and going to have me taking rest days. I've followed my diet up and down through weight goes up, weight goes down. And you know what? We're going to do a whole little show on diet, but man, I tell you, I don't eat right. I don't eat right, and I know when I don't eat right. And then when I do eat right, I'm like, wow, isn't it funny? Eating right helps. So the idea is to try to put together a solid 1 year of training, soup to nuts, and know that when I go in there and I get that starting line and I take my spot, that I'm going to be giving it my best effort, the best effort I possibly can give, because I am ready. Not because I'm going to show up that day and I'm going to, listen to good music and get all psyched up and just try to suffer through, but because I prepared myself. And I know, what, some of you guys may be listening to this and going, I've heard this before. Scott often shows up at races undertrained. And some days, I admit, sometimes I do set goals high and I don't follow through. And it's part of the process. It just is. The important thing is that I'm still here and I'm still talking to you guys and I'm not giving up. All right. I've gone through some ups and downs. My weight recently in January was up to 260 pounds. And I haven't been like that in a long, long time. And I dropped 30 pounds just in 3 or 4 months by focusing on diet and making sure I wasn't being an idiot. And by the way, that doesn't mean I was starving myself. It just means I was eating right. I wasn't eating junk. I wasn't drinking. I wasn't doing stupid stuff. I just focused on good things. We're going to have a whole diet episode soon. So here we are, guys. And I know, a lot of people are just like, oh, there he goes, Lake Placid again. Lake Placid again. And you know what? I get that. Why am I going to run the same race a fourth time? And I think, honestly, the reason is familiarity. It's familiarity and to take away excuses. I hate excuses. I hate having them, and here's an excuse. Oh, I didn't know the course. Oh, I wasn't expecting this to happen on the course. Oh, I didn't really know what to do in transition. I forgot about, here's the thing. I've done this race 3 times. I've been up there for 5 races. I've seen it. I've experienced it. I know the course. I know where to go. There's nothing that can distract me. Familiarity lessens excuses. And I tell you, so I used to play golf with my dad. And I suck at golf. Here's a story. But every time I play with my dad, I would go down to Florida and we'd go into the pro shop and I would buy a new box of golf balls, brand new out of the box. 15 golf balls in the box. I'd probably lose all 15 of them. I'd use them all. And my dad would say to me, why do you do this? Why do you just use... I golf all the time. I don't lose a lot of balls, and I wind up finding a bunch. Here's this bag of dusty old balls. It's always just funny when I say it that way. Why don't you use these? At least it's inexpensive. And the reason I don't use them is because I don't like having that as an excuse. I don't like saying, oh, it's an old ball and it bounced into the water. Maybe if it was a new ball, it would have rolled true and straight because that's the way I hit it. I just like not having it as an excuse. I want to hit a new ball off the tee because I want it to have that perfect roll as best as I'm going to get. If it hits that fairway, I want it to go. I don't want it. I just don't want any excuse. And that's the same reason why I picked Lake Placid again. We go there all the time. I'm very familiar with it. And it just removes any superfluous excuses that might come from not being familiar. We're going to go after this, guys. It's going to be an interesting next year as I prepare for this race. Very excited about it, if you can't tell. I think I'm in a good place, and I think I'm focused, and I think we're going to get this done. I hope you guys come along for the ride. I hope you join us on our live streams. Come ride with us on Zwift. We're going to get this done. I hope maybe drag a few of you along with me. I know Matt Shore, he deferred, I think, to next year. I think Brian Rogers is going to be there. He deferred an old race there. I think a COVID race that he deferred there. We might see Joe Caniano, Mike Romans, Ron Booz, all of those guys. I think I've planted a seed. And maybe, you never know who's going to show up at that start line. Joe Bartlett, Jim Simcoe, my old buddies. I know that they're really thinking about it. Joe Bartlett, I'm pretty sure I got him in. Not 100% sure about Jimmy, but if Joe does it, I think Jimmy will do it. And it's going to be a good crowd. We'll have a lot of Team Ordinary shirts and hats and stuff going on, being worn up in Lake Placid 2023. I'm looking forward to it. I hope you guys come along for the ride. Thank you for being here on the podcast again and listening to us here. And remember, every day is an ordinary day unless you make it extraordinary. So get after it, guys.